Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Ed. Today I'm going to be talking again about BIOC. It's been a while since I've mentioned it, but I've linked the description in the description below my last video. And I'm going to be going on through technical analysis update on this one and the latest news that I didn't cover since then. Make sure to subscribe to this channel to help it grow, drop a like, and share it as well if you like the video. So without further ado, let's take a look into the one-day intervals. You get to see the MACD here seems to have been trying to go on and getting a positive reversal for quite a bit. Now it seems that it has kind of got rejected on the 22nd and pulled back a little, but it's still within a smaller histogram that it could actually see a reversal with any kind of PR coming around. William percent R puts this one a bit over closer to the not overbought situation, but still sitting in neutral. Momentum here, you get to see that it is sitting in at very low momentum, but not as low as we had on the 7th here, where it's seen a massive jump. So average reversal index does show that there's a trend forming. Now this trend is still not really confirmed. You need to look into the 1 hour interval, especially since in that trend would probably be the positive green uptrend that has been forming for quite a little, but not the intra trend, so not basically next week's movements. You get to see the stock is within the trading action zone, which is amazing. Trading action zones is where reversals are likely, so that is good news for us. The stock price is above the 50 SMA and the 200 SMA, another positive sign. Going in towards the 1 hour intervals here, what we get to see is that the stock is under the VWAP, it's under the 50 SMA, and just broke the 200 SMA. So, and the 30 SMA is above the 10 SMA, so that is all bad news for us. Average directional index shows in a sloppy movement that is happening. The MACD shows in a very brief green or very brief positive trend that seems to have almost gone into a negative reversal with a very short-lived period. Now, there was a bit of volume spike here around 10 a.m. and that dropped quite quickly. Unbalanced volume seems to have increased a little, which is not a really good sign when you have that little low volume. William percent R puts it at oversold at this point. Momentum seems to be very close to just zero at this point. And so let's try to look into trends. Here is the moving averages for this. So you see it's trading within the moving average band. That is good news. So probably would oscillate back and forth within this one here. It's sitting in at the upper half of the band. So you might actually see either it reversing down to the bottom half or reversing back up to the positive half. Now let's try to go on and find where the supports are, and then we're going to try to identify where trend lines are. So quickly here, trend lines, you get to see that it hasn't broken that trend line yet, but it's still a very sloppy trend line where you can see it dropped from 0.595 and then jumped all the way to 0.85 in one day. So there's some interesting things happening here. Going on towards supports and Fibonacci retracements, you see that there is a Fibonacci support at 0.70, and then following that you get the traditional support around 0.69 that has been tested here, and as well here. Here as well. Going on after that, you get 0.67 Fibonacci support at 0.66, and then we get as well a traditional one around 0.64. Going on towards resistances, you get a traditional one happening around 0.71, which it's almost sitting at. And then you get another one around 0.73. Been tested multiple times here on the chart. And then 0.74 is the Fibonacci retracement resistance. Another one around 0.75. Following that is around 0.77. And you get to see the rest here. Now going on towards identifying any trends that we can see. I'm going to quickly go on to the 1 month, 1 day period in order to determine that kind of trend. You get to see it's really trading in all around the place and there's no significant trend. It's almost in an accumulation phase in that point, but I wouldn't consider it anything significant. Now let's try to look in towards the trend line and see if this one has broken. And it seems that it has been broken from all the way here on. Okay, let's try to take a look as well. Okay, so the trend line that broke over here, it's still as well broken again. So the new trend line does form somewhere in like this here, which doesn't seem to have been broken. It's been formed on the 17th. So it's still on a positive trend, even though it's a little bit sloppy in terms of that trend. So got to be very careful. But what it looks like, it could be actually accumulating right now after this massive jump, so you want to make sure it does for a few days before you consider buying in. Now there's massive news that is coming in for this stock. Well, the next news will probably be well, first, before we go, there's institutional buy-ins that happen on the 23rd, around 100,000 shares. Of course, their average is around 0.49, so it's quite cheaper than what the price is currently. I think it's almost half. This company has around $34 billion in terms on their portfolio, so they're a massive company. They can spare on around 100,000 shares. They have increased their share value for 174%. You get to see another one here. They bought around 20,000 shares for Better Financial Consulting. So there seems to be, again, institutional interest in this one here. Let's take a quick look in terms of seeing what the portfolio is. It's 5 seconds. It's $185 million, so it's not as big as the other one. Royal Bank of Canada has reduced only 0.01% of their shares, so nothing significant there. Yeah, so it still looks in like there's some interest in, at least on the 23rd, for one of the institutional buy-ins. Now going on towards the votes. So there's different votes here that happen. Nothing really that affects the stock significantly. Of course, there is the one happening on July 31st. And this is the annual meeting, so probably we'll be discussing things like how they would probably be maintaining above the $1. The one most important thing is the reverse split that they're going to be considering. It's going to be from 1 to 5 or 1 to 30 reverse split. And this is going to be voting on July 31st. The deadline to register is July 29th, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And the reverse split is on July 31st here. Let's just quickly identify where it does say that. So 1 p.m. Yeah, July... okay, so it will occur on July 31st at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. And so if a reverse split actually gets approved, I do imagine the stock price would drop. If a reverse split gets not approved, even though it would risk delisting for this company, right? Because they do have until December 7th to satisfy the dollar minimum, that might risk the company not maintaining that and getting delisted. But I would imagine that usually reverse splits do get approved for companies like this, because when you're thinking about it, you have some companies, institutional buy-ins, that are thinking of longer term and usually have higher shares than retail investors. Although you might actually see it get disapproved on it, and that might actually increase the stock price for a little. Now, I wouldn't hold until July. Well, I mean, I wouldn't hold during that conference. It's definitely a dangerous time, and usually that's kind of my risk tolerance. But if you are very confident that the reverse split is not going to get accepted, if you're very confident that this stock is probably going to skyrocket right after the meeting because they're going to say something important, then hold with all it is. But for me, I would definitely not touch it until July 31st for the time being. I would expect it to jump as well before July 31st, but there's a little bit of risk there. So if you're holding it from a long time and you're a little bit down, you might want to consider averaging down on a red day for its stock. Now, someone sent this to me. The Senate GOP and White House strikes deal on $16 billion for coronavirus testing. BIOC does have COVID testing, so there might be a bit more money going to that. Okay, so that is pretty much it for this company. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Share, subscribe, and like, and you have a wonderful day.